All right, welcome back to another episode of Sessions with Coach April. This is episode 7, and today we're diving into a hot topic about virtual assistants. So, there's a lot of misinformation out there, you guys, and today we're going to set the record straight. Joining me is my co host, Cassandra.
Yes, Wilford. Hi, everybody.
Absolutely. And then we have business owner and powerhouse and event host, Regina Baker. Welcome, Miss Regina.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely. How are you doing today?
I'm doing good. I'm doing good. I was looking forward to this. So I'm doing good. I'm excited.
Absolutely. So we're going to dive a little bit into an event she has coming up a little bit later in the show. I'm excited because I get to be a part of the event, but I'm not going to give out too much here at the beginning. All right. So let's get clear first. Regina, tell me how you define what a virtual assistant really is.
So I think for me, it was literally finding that out when I first hit the streets of this. And what I've come to learn is that it is more of transitioning from an administrative clerk or admin, if you're in corporate America, to just doing it online, right? So you're servicing professionals in the same way, but you're just at home, right? So that's
Right.
with whatever administrative tasks that they need, but there is a learning curve to it.
Okay. All right. Absolutely. No, I understand. So I don't know if I told you this or if you know this, but I started my company in marketing initially, where I was like the middleman between the small business and the traditional advertising. So like the billboard or the radio or the TV. And then I realized a lot of small and mid-sized businesses didn't understand the value of marketing or they didn't have the budget for it. So my company transitioned into a virtual assistance company because I wanted to be able to go in and help companies grow to be able to properly market and scale. Now that turned to a whole nother thing because people started depending on me so much that it was like, oh, this is not what I wanted. but, but yeah, so
Yeah.
I definitely understand that space of a
Yeah.
VA as well.
Now, there's so much confusion around roles and titles, right? There's VA, OBM, admin. Can you explain the difference between those roles and what those acronyms mean?
Yeah. And it's kind of like what April just said. It's like you literally think you're going in to help somebody with aspects of their business. But I think what happens in the industry, the reason people get confused by it is because a general admin or virtual assistant is pretty much doing stuff like scheduling, maybe adding to your blog posts or answering emails or keeping up with your autoresponder. It's general, it's just general tasks. The challenge happens is when you come from corporate America and you were a project manager, right? Or you were like below management, right? And so here you come in and you're talking about your virtual assistant. Well, they only want to pay you low dollars for that when you've been making high dollars in corporate America. So you literally have to understand how to create your title. A lot of people say they don't want to create titles. You need to create titles in this industry.
Mhm.
So it's just knowing the difference of what an online business manager is, project manager, general admin, things like that.
Yeah, and I think that's important too. Because I kind of learned that the hard way. I'm one of those who, because I own my business, I can typically come into business, and even if I don't know it, I'm gonna figure it out and be able to run it, right?
Mm-hmm.
And unfortunately, when you do have that type of knowledge and you are one of those type of people, you give more than what your role actually permits
Entail.
or requires. So
Yeah.
you do end up kind of like running the company. You do end up
Mhm.
doing a lot of admin or even C level tasks that
Yeah.
you wouldn't generally do. I think a lot of, especially when it comes to like CEOs, business owners, or the people who need virtual assistants, when you do have a really good virtual assistant, that person kind of becomes everything for you. So you
Yes.
kind of depend on them for so much that you tend to forget, wait, that's not really their role.
Yeah.
So yeah, yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
All
You
right.
got
So
to
let's
teach people what that means, what that
Yeah.
role means.
Absolutely, absolutely. So I want to bust some of the myths. So what is one thing that you hear all the time that drives you crazy because it's just not true?
Well, there's several, but okay, you said one.
Okay,
I
let's start.
don't like I don't like when these virtual assistant groups or whomever they are will say that you can become a virtual assistant overnight. That makes me cringe because it's not true.
Mm-hmm.
You have to literally understand the way the internet works, how entrepreneurs are working on the internet, and also the systems, the software, and the different things that are not used in corporate America that are used online, right?
Right.
And so that makes me cringe for people to tell them, take this course, you can learn it overnight and just hit the ground running. That's a lie. That's
It
just
is.
so.
It is. It
Yeah,
is.
that's the
Well,
biggest thing.
I think people look at virtual assistant somewhat like, oh, it's secretary. I just make phone calls, answer emails,
Mhm.
when really there is a skill set that goes with it. And aside from the skill set, your job is to help organize somebody's space and somebody's time, right?
Yeah,
So with that being the case, you tend to need to know the tools that help do that, especially in such a technical world, right? Like it's not just
exactly.
as simple as, oh, I'm gonna check a couple emails and put them in a folder and I'm gonna answer a couple calls and schedule a couple appointments. If you have somebody like I'll be honest, one of my biggest clients, his mailbox stays at about 55,000. And as you try to comb through them, it feels like it just fills back up. So you have to be able to build systems, not only for that client, but also you have to be able to have systems to make it easier for you as the virtual assistant.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I think, like what you said, it's coming in with the skills. If you have basic administrative skills and determining how you worked before, and you bring that same attitude to do more than what's expected of you, you can make it. But
Yeah.
one of the biggest problems is that people are thinking all over the world, and I'm not mad at anybody because you don't know what you don't know, but they're thinking that I need to make some money. So let me just go ahead and title myself a virtual assistant when
Mhm.
you don't even have the skills to
Right.
go into that industry. So I
Right.
think that that's a big problem, understanding how to leverage on your skills and learning these different softwares, right?
Mm.
That you're going to need to do. It's also like you said about your client, the emails, like, do you know grammar? Can you respond in a
Yes.
respectful way? And can you be a communication liaison for that person when they're not looking at their email, but you're responding on their behalf? So it's deeper. It's so much deeper than that.
I
Yeah.
agree.
And I think another misconception, speaking on what you guys said about having a skill set, is you have to have a mindset to do this. You're not going to work with somebody the same way you would who is a lawyer versus somebody who works with casinos. You know what I'm saying? Like you have to be able to adapt to different mindsets, different learning styles, different working styles, all that type of stuff. And you almost have to think
Hmm.
like an entrepreneur. Not everybody has that skill. That's not something that can be taught.
Because you
Mhm.
are an entrepreneur. Now
Yeah.
you're your own business person. So
Mhm.
yeah, exactly. I agree.
So I want to
Absolutely.
rapid fire a few more questions just about the industry, some myths that are in the industry. Are VAs only for big businesses?
No, no. VAs can work with entrepreneurs who are just starting out so they can focus more on profit generating activities and you're taking up the back end of their business, right? So it's all in what that person really needs and they're willing to budget for their business to have a virtual assistant. So it's not just for big businesses. And as a matter of fact, it started out with just entrepreneurs, coaches, people like that, consultants, speakers, things like that. It wasn't corporate. Corporate didn't get in on this bandwagon, I would say maybe 6 years ago, six
Mhm.
years ago, where it really hit the ground, right? And doing remote business. So, yeah, no, it's not.
Yeah, I was gonna say I think it's more of the like not necessarily corporate than it is
Hmm.
because corporate generally has a bunch of people, right?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
I do see the need for corporate to have a VA, but
Yeah.
I feel like those companies who are just starting or brand new or are solo dolo, it's one
Hmm.
person or two
Hmm.
people or three people, they need it way more. Number one, they can't always afford to hire somebody full time. So a VA is
Right.
ideal. Number
Right.
two, they have like 50 hats anyway. So
Mhm.
having someone to be able to step in and feel like they're not on an island by themselves is huge. So yeah, I definitely feel like it's just like you said, Miss Gina, it's more the and I hate to say smaller business, mid-size, growing businesses than it is the large corporate.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I even like that you said smaller, right?
Mhm.
Because a smaller business gets to understand what it means to have somebody to support them. When in the past, smaller businesses didn't think they could afford that.
Right.
Right.
It's
Right.
all in how you create that structure and the time that you need, and somebody willing to do that for you.
Right.
Yeah.
And that brings me to my next one. Can someone really run a whole company with a $10 an hour virtual assistant?
No, no.
I want you to elaborate.
Okay, so here's the thing. I have a problem, and well, not a problem. I'm going to call it a challenge with anyone who has a business that is on a consistent basis, which means that they're generating the type of income that they need to make. I'll give you a really good example. Because I'm in the speaking industry, most speakers get on the stage for no less than $10,000 for an hour. So if they're doing that, let's just go to the low end, 3 times a month. That's $30,000, right? That they just made. And you want to pay somebody $10,
Mhm.
that means that you don't want to invest in your business,
Right.
right? To get the full return. Because here's the thing, you're always working on a level of measurement, starting at general admin all the way up to manager. So you have to think about you're going to get what you're paying for. And
Mhm.
that's not a letdown on anybody because I believe everybody starts somewhere. I did, right?
Mhm. Yeah.
But you're only going to get what that person is capable of giving, right? So running a business for $10 maybe over in other countries,
Mhm.
right? Have a challenge with that too, because if you're making money in the US, spend money in the US, right?
Right.
So yeah, I I don't I don't agree with that. If you need to start that way as a small business, right? Then okay.
Okay. Is being a virtual assistant a real career path?
Yeah, it really is. I've been in this industry doing this particular thing for 10 years, but I've been online looking at all of the different possibilities and the different things that I've been doing since 1996, right? So
Mhm.
I see it as a career, as an entrepreneur, as a small business, like
Mhm.
April was talking about. I still consider myself a small business,
Mhm.
right? So yeah, it can be a career shift for you. It's all in how you identify the way you want that to look.
Right, right. I agree. It definitely is because I said I did marketing first and then I went into virtual assistants. I didn't really start making money until I went into virtual assistants. Like that's where
Yeah,
my money started. But then you realize everything you learn too being
yeah,
in it because you're learning from different entrepreneurs. It's almost like you learn how to run different type of businesses if you're one of those who does more. I was one of those who I just was never a virtual assistant for just one person. I was always multiple people that I worked for. So I believe it definitely is a career. But just like any career, there you have to be willing to learn. You have to be willing to build the skill sets because it's going to
hmm,
require skill sets. It's going to require continuing to grow because things change, new systems come out, new tools. So yeah, I definitely agree that it is. So I'm going to shift from myths to values. So when you work with the right VA, tell me what kind of transformations do you feel that businesses will experience?
Um, uh, I'll talk about my experience, right?
Uh-huh.
So, my experience is that most of the people that I've worked with, they were leaning on me to give them the ideas and the brainstorming of what needed to happen in the business in terms of structure, strategy, SOPs, standard operating procedures, things like that. So I think they lean more towards us for identifying what that needs to look like, right? And so that can be that's definitely more than a general admin, right? So um and then here's the thing, most clients don't know what they don't know, because if you're working with a high end coach, that coach is focused more on the work that they're doing, the healing that they're doing, the transformation that they're focused on. They shouldn't be focused on what administrative tasks look like and what that flow. So they're really dependent on you to help them to understand what that's supposed to look like.
Can you give a few real examples of what tasks VAs can take off a business owner's plate?
A lot. So I would say if we start at the basics, like I said earlier, it could be scheduling, it could be checking emails, like really cleaning it up, tagging what's important, what's not important, scheduling meetings with your client at least once every other week, right? Where you're coming together and talking about the needs of the business. You can do blog posts. If you know how to update websites, you can do that. You can send out announcements, newsletters, things like that. If you understand how to use all of these different uh, like autoresponder services like KID, Active Campaign, things like that. uh, what else? It's knowing how to use systems to generate invoicing, right, for your client. Um, CRMs, right? Maintaining a really strong CRM with follow ups, all of the client's information, sending out thank you cards, keeping in touch. It's a lot of it can be basic, but it depends on how you're doing it and how you're structuring it for it to be done. If you know how to use Canva to create graphics, what I don't, and I just talked to a client about this morning. What I don't recommend is having a VA do your social media. That's two different lanes.
Mm-hmm.
Social media is a lane all by itself, and it takes
Right.
extreme focus. So when you want to combine the two of those, something is going to lack, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's really understanding what needs. Do you need someone to be a customer service person where they're following up with customers when they purchase something? Uh, it's a lot that can happen in the VA industry, which is totally different than corporate America, because corporate America has different positions where an admin can take all of that in if you're giving them the hours, the retainers in order to fulfill that work to be done.
Right, right. So she said one that I have to plug. She said CRM. So we actually have a CRM coming out called BizFuse 360, which is amazing because it covers
Ooh.
everything that the CRMs like Salesforce, HubSpot, plus it does is index the support, help and support. Plus it does your marketing, so it has all your email campaigns in it. Plus it does AI. Plus it does your phone and your AI bots, everything in one. All right, that's all. Okay,
Oh,
so
that's interesting.
so yeah. So with that being said, so you actually started to answer a question that I was going to ask when I was gonna say, when you think of a VA, where does it stop? Where does it say, hey, these are outside of the lines of what I do? You already said social media. And I guess I mainly say this because there are those people who will hire a VA and then they expect the VA to do everything, right?
Mhm,
So are
mhm.
there any other areas where you would say, okay, like, unless that was like in their original job description, that's probably stretching it a little too far, asking a
Yeah,
VA to do
and that's up to the VA.
that. Hmm.
So when someone reaches out to you for the services, you have to be able to have that call with them, right? That meet and greet call to find out exactly what they need. depending on their budget. And I talk about budget a lot because I'm not making it about money. I'm making it more about time, the time that you have to spend, as well as the skills that you have to have in order to fulfill what that person wants.
Right.
So I think it's identifying the need of the person and then understanding that you're not a virtual assistant. So for me, I'm a manager, right? Like I manage my clients' businesses and their teams,
Mm-hmm.
right? And so it's a lot. It's having meetings with them, it's having meetings with the client, it's making sure we're reaching monetary goals. When you start going into negotiating for your clients for business and things like that, and you're closing, you're submitting contracts, you're submitting invoices, you're handling all of the logistics and everything, you're that communications liaison person for your client, then that's totally different. That's not admin, none of that, right? If it's project management where you're making sure certain things are happening for every team member, then that's another area, right? Because now it's not about administrative tasks as it is assigning roles, the positions, the work, and making sure that the work is being done. it's
Yeah.
it's it's why it's just, I'm so glad about this interview today because it's so much bigger than what people think, and there's so many different levels of it that can happen. And I personally I'm challenged by the deception of the industry. We're not a sweatshop, right?
Mm-hmm.
We're not sitting in a big room and everybody's excited because they're making $5. That's not what
Right.
that is.
Right.
So
Exactly.
it's bringing your expertise to the table. And April, is something that you said that keeps resonating with me, and that is more of wanting to learn how to leverage, learning how to use these new softwares. Like you mentioned AI. A lot of people are still like, what is that? I
Mm.
had somebody to call it A1. We're like,
A1
what
steak
is
sauce.
A1? Right. So it's literally learning how to identify all of these new skills and learning. And you got to be fascinated with that stuff,
You do,
right?
yeah.
In
Yeah,
order
you gotta love it.
to reach levels, to be recommended, things like that. I'm like, you can't just take a course and think you got it.
So, I like how you said you have to love it. Like you do. I mean, just with anything else that you're going to do and you're going to be really good at, because
Mm-hmm.
it's forever changing. It's
Yeah.
Yeah.
never going to be the same all the time, even just from client to client. So you do have to be invested enough to say that I want to make this person look so good
Yeah.
by making sure their emails are managed, their schedule is managed, whether you're managing a website, whatever it is you're doing for them, you have to be willing to go out and do additional research and make sure that you're putting in them in the best space, because that's how your name gets brought up in other rooms. Like, oh yeah, no, I got this VA, or I got
Yeah.
this, based on what you bring to the table. I always say, anytime you hire somebody, whether you're hiring a VA, whether you're hiring somebody in the office, the goal is for them to make money for you. Even if they're not a salesperson and they're not making money because they're going
Mhm.
out and selling your product, just for the simple fact that they make your life easier. So now you have more time and you're more organized, you're still making money for me. You're
Yeah.
you're giving me more time to now focus on other things. So it's important to want to be that for whoever you're working with, whoever your client is. And that's how you stay on top as a VA.
Yeah. And Cass even said it. It's mindset. That's first. That's
Mm-hmm.
first and foremost mindset, period.
Yeah, no, I think that's in everything. It's definitely
And the work ethic
definitely a
isn't something
mindset.
you can teach somebody. They either have it or they don't.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I know you talked about a budget. They have to have a budget for it. But outside of that, what are some things that a CEO needs to have in place before he tries to bring someone on as a VA?
That list, that list of knowing what they need and being more specific, like really having a conversation and being transparent, right? There's no need to not say what you need because then you're going to be disappointed
Mm-hmm.
because you kept something away that's not happening. And then you're in expectation of that person to read your mind when they're just really getting to know you. right? So it's being realistic and writing those things out and asking a person, how do they really feel?
Absolutely.
So it's
So
just being
I'm sorry,
transparent.
go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I'm gonna add a little bit to that list. I agree. Come in knowing what you want and what you need from somebody. But
Hmm.
to go a little bit further, also be prepared to teach. Don't just give a list to somebody and say, here, do this, and assume that they not only know how to do it, but they know how to do it the way you want them to do it. Because
Right.
there are a lot of things that I can do. And if you just give it to me, I'm gonna do it my way. I'm gonna do it the
Hmm.
best way that I think that I'm gonna present it to
Hmm.
you. But then
Hmm.
to be upset that, hey, I didn't want it like this, I wanted it like that. Grace
Yeah.
also comes with that. Understanding that it's a learning curve. Even
Yeah.
for someone who is extremely smart, it's not about knowing how to do it, it's knowing how to do it to best assist you. So
That's right.
you're going to have to teach. You're going to have to be willing to say, I like my spreadsheets this way. I like my
Hmm.
mail sorted this way. Because I have two admins right now who sort my emails, because I have my emails and I have my clients' emails that are still my emails for my clients. So I have a bunch of email addresses. And I learned that even someone who has the best system, if I don't pay attention to that type of system, it's still not good for me. So I
That's
have
right.
to know, I have to have a system that works for me, which means
Hmm.
I need to know what I'm looking for, where I'm looking for it at. Otherwise, it could be the best system in the world. If I can't use it, like, so yes, I feel like being willing to allow you to learn with them and them to learn with you is so important. So,
And can I add one more thing to that? Because that's really good. One of the things that we say in every one of our meetings is that we do not rely on our memory,
mhm,
right? So
yeah,
one of the systems that we use is Asana,
yeah,
right? And Asana just reminds each one of us this is what's supposed to happen. We're not trying to remember that,
yeah,
right? And so as long as you have a system that can remind you, and that's why these CRMs are so important,
mhm,
it holds you accountable to the work. So you're
yeah,
not dropping the ball.
Mhm.
But we say that in every one of our meetings, we do not commit anything to our memory thinking that it's going to happen because it's in here,
mhm,
right? So, yeah.
yeah. Yeah, I just had a conversation with a client a second ago. I'm his consultant, but he said, "Oh, I remember a week ago I asked you to do this. Do you remember that?" No. I said, I've been doing a lot of things, a lot of different things, focusing on, but I got you. I'm gonna send it, and I went ahead and typed myself a message because, oh my gosh, I mean, he probably even asked me to do it the way that he told me he just did anyway, but the way he thought is that he asked me this
Yeah.
way, but whatever. But I don't have proof, so that's on me. So, yeah, so absolutely. So
Listen,
let's
I'm
talk.
so bad. I will try and tell myself, like, I walk into the store and say, pick up band-aids, and I'll see it all through the store. I'll see one other thing that distracts me and completely forget I was supposed to get band-aids. It's bad.
Get home and be
Exactly.
mad.
Exactly. But giving grace to yourself, right?
Mhm.
Like you said, you got to be able to give each other grace because we make mistakes every single day. And for anybody to think that they're not going to do that, that's just not true.
So, how do you personally build your brand to stand out in the VA space?
Uh, but let me tell you what really happened. I was truly blessed by this client that I tell you that I've been working with for 10 years. It was her telling me of my strengths, right? What I should charge and what I shouldn't charge, right? Like,
Mhm.
like she was like, this probably getting ready to get me in trouble because I'm gonna have to pay you more money, right? But it's like she truly taught me the power of identity, self identity,
Mhm.
understanding what my skills are. Because my background is in IT, it can go like huge, right? But knowing how to identify where and what I really wanted to do, creating my brand. I used to think, y'all, I used to think that brand was just about colors, and I was like, I'm not good with colors anyway. They just do all. I didn't want to focus. I didn't know it was literally creating who you are, right? And people being able to identify with your brand. My brand is working with professional speakers,
Mhm.
right? Um, and staying in that space, like literally staying in that space, and but also teaching virtual assistants how to work with speakers because it's a huge opening for that in the industry. And
Mhm.
so it took me years to really create my business and what that looked like and being okay understanding with clarity what that meant.
I think a lot of times, VAs, coaches, consultants, everything, they think of everything hourly. So that means, hey, I'm on active time. I'm working by the hour. When really there's so many passive opportunities
Mm-hmm.
inside the VA world, right? Like you
Mm.
talked about earlier. What are your capabilities? What can you do? Are you focusing strictly on, administrative, where you're talking about calendars and emails and that type of thing? Or are you
Mm-hmm.
taking a little bit deeper and you're saying, hey, I can manage websites. You can
Yeah.
put a monthly fee on that, right?
Yeah.
You can, and that's not necessarily active, it's as
Mm-hmm.
needed.
Mm-hmm.
Maintenance in different areas, developing different, like for me, I develop courses for a lot of my clients. A lot of
Mm-hmm.
them need, especially for the clients who have customers. So I develop courses that I can now use over and over and over. This is a passive income. It's done. It's created already. So
Yeah.
now, as I'm helping you align your culture, a lot of the things that you need, I now have these courses on standby that I can resell as many times as I want to do it to help get your customers acquainted. So it's not just active income, and it's like
Right.
learning to be flexible and learning to like really love it. And that's why I love the fact that you said love it. You have to really
Mm-hmm.
love it. As you love it,
Yeah.
you'll learn there are so many different things that you can do to now just not be dependent on your active time on the clock, but you
Yeah.
have other resources that you can use passively. So yeah.
Yeah. I'm grinning because I'm like, she all in the conference. Because it's true. It's true, but they don't know what they don't know. And that's where we come in to help them to understand, the opportunities that are available to them and not just relying on client income. Right. Because if you love this type of work, this industry, there are a multitude of things that you can do to generate passive income, right?
Absolutely.
On top of client income.
Right.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
So let's keep it real. VA and client relationships, they sometimes thrive, but they sometimes crash. And I have multiple ones that I could give an example of crashing, but I do
Mhm.
have some very thriving ones, depending on how they're managed, right? So,
Yeah.
what's your advice for creating a solid working relationship between a VA and their client?
Communication is the key.
Mhm.
Communication is the key. And I think being open, transparent, and honest. There's no such thing as a wrong answer, right? Your feelings are valid no matter how much people want to put weight on your feelings, but they won't put it on themselves,
Right.
right? And so I think that what has helped me is the communication and not taking things personal,
Mhm.
right? Drama free.
Mhm.
Uh, but the client has to give 150% clarity on what they need
Yeah.
and not be an expectation for somebody to create miracles. But then as being a business owner myself, I have to show up, right?
Mhm.
And want to bring expectations that are beyond what the client is even looking for. So I think it's communication. Um, Communication is just the key, right?
Yeah.
And honesty, right?
Yeah.
And
Well, yeah, because
sometimes,
I would say you need to be willing to have the hard conversations too, not just the pleasant, grateful, smiling
that
conversations.
that
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah.
exactly, because
So
I've had relationships that I had to cut off. I mean, we
yeah.
can go and have lunch, but we can't do business together.
Mm,
And
me
we both
too.
know that, right?
Yeah.
And so it's just knowing who you want to work with. Don't be so desperate that you're miserable.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. One of the things earlier I said grace, and there was something else I wanted to say. I figured I remember what it was. Something you said reminded me. So this is not just for somebody. These are not just for the VA side, but this is also for somebody who wants to bring on a VA. Accountability is so important. Taking
Yes.
accountability. So as a VA, if you messed up, okay, you messed up. You're human. Take accountability. Learn from it. Figure out how you could do better next time. But also as the client,
Mm-hmm.
accountability, because we are not miracle workers. That's
Yeah.
not as a VA. That's not as a coach or a consultant. As much as we want to provide miracles, and some of the stuff we do feels like a miracle because we're taking things off your plate, we can only work. We can only help you as much as you allow us. So if you're
Yeah.
missing meetings, if you're not communicating with us, like you said, it makes it hard for us to be able to perform the way you would like us to perform. So
Mhm.
accountability is very important in a relationship between a client and a VA.
I think it's also important, April, that when you're hiring somebody to work with you, you literally need to know how much time you need that person. So
Yeah.
if you are wanting that person to be solely focused on you, then you got to have a good budget, because
Yeah. Yeah.
virtual assistants look to have several clients,
Yeah.
right, in order to create the goal that they're looking for. And a lot of times that's the need of the home. It's not that they're trying to bling or anything like that. And so they will have additional clients. But if a client really wants that sole focus on them, then they got to have that kind of budget.
Right, because they got to think this person has to live. And the
Hmm.
best way to have someone to be able to assist you in your business is for them not to have a whole bunch of outside stress because, hey, I can't pay my bills, or hey, I'm working all these hours, but I still now have to try to find income from another source. They
Hmm.
say taking stress off of you, but you also need to make sure that you're assisting and taking a stress off of them so they can
Right.
effectively assist you in what it is that you need them to assist you in. So with that being said, what's a red flag from either a client or a VA that shows that it's not going to work?
I think that not showing up,
Mm-hmm.
missing meetings, missing deadlines on a consistently basis. One of my biggest pet peeves is when I'm not paid on time.
Yeah. Me too.
Don't make me ask for my
Right.
invoice.
Yeah.
It's just not
Chase
gonna
my
work
work.
well.
Right.
It's
Right. Exactly. I didn't have to chase my work. So I should have to chase my bill.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I told
absolutely.
a client, I did. I told a client, I don't care if you Barack Obama, if you supposed to pay me on Thursday, I'm gonna need it, right? So
Right.
I don't want to have to ask for that, right?
Right.
But
Right.
I also know with having that type of mentality that I have to show up. I
Yeah.
can't be
Yeah.
missing meetings. I cannot be missing deadlines. And then sometimes stuff happens, but you
Hmm.
you gotta be have open communication about that, right? And
Yeah.
so, yeah,
And I've
that's
learned with repeat offenders in that area, prior to paying prior to, most of my clients pay prior to anyway. I think I have like two clients that pay after the fact. But I've also worked with them for a very long time, and but if you are someone who you get paid after, then those repeat offenders pay prior to the work is done. So if you pay me monthly, you pay me in the beginning of May for May's work. So that way I'm not sitting here, having to pause work because I'm waiting on my payment. So,
Yeah, did you see my face on that? Because here's the thing. I don't anybody I train, I tell them get your money up front.
right. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
don't know you yet to trust you that way.
Yeah.
Only have
True.
one client like that, and I've been with her 10 years, right?
Hmm.
That pays me after the fact, but she taught me the rope. So there's never been a time that I wasn't paid, right? But I
Yeah.
see a lot of that happening, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I turned down a contract. It was a $60,000 contract
Hmm.
because they refused to pay me ahead of time
Hmm.
because of their payment system. And I told them, I said, I respect you. I don't expect for you to break what you're doing, but I don't break what I'm doing. This just
Right.
is not a good fit.
Right.
So
Absolutely.
it's
No.
it's just literally knowing that, because we shouldn't chase money,
Right.
right?
No.
I don't chase money.
And then it makes it more difficult to focus on doing the work because I'm worried about the fact that I ain't got my money yet. And then am I going to do more work you're going to have to owe me money for? So, and
Yeah.
it's not just about money. We already said you have to love it, but let's be real. People have to get paid. Like,
We're here to make money.
right, right. I ain't
But
doing it
with
for
the
the
right
fun
mindset, with the right professionalism, yes, and I'm thank you for that. Because a
of it.
lot of people will say it's not about money. Yes, it is.
Hmm.
Your client, it's about money
Yeah,
for them. Well, how
yeah,
come it's not for you? Right.
right.
And I
Yeah.
remember the struggle days. I remember the days that I struggled. And I was like, I couldn't focus because the light bill was due.
Hmm.
Mm.
Yeah.
So I can't focus all the way in if you're not paying me for me to pay the light bill. So I'm not going to focus on your stuff.
Right.
Right. So all of that's a part of that learning curve of how you need to structure and have strategy in your business. It's
Hmm.
not being arrogant. It's not being mean. It's not hateful. It's none of that. Right. It's just the way you need for your business to flow.
Right, absolutely. So before we wrap up, Regina, tell us about this upcoming conference. Tell us the name, tell us a date, and what inspired it.
I am so excited about this conference, and here's why. I I rejected it for so long. Like
Uh-huh.
God has been telling me to do this forever. I didn't think I was qualified. I didn't think I could get the speakers. Um, and April, I'm so grateful that you said yes. Not one speaker hesitated. Not one.
Mm-hmm.
And so I didn't have that. I have confidence, as y'all can tell from the way I talk, but I didn't have confidence that I could get the speakers I wanted.
Okay.
Mhm.
Right. So I literally had heard April speak before, and I was like, oh my gosh, I just got to have her. Because she speaks with clarity, truth, you literally understand. And I said, who better? Who better? Right. And so, and then I was nervous at the fact that who gonna show up? Like, because when it comes to virtual assistant organizations, I don't have an organization. I don't have that big organization with thousands of virtual assistants. So I'm like, oh, we're gonna have to heavily promote this thing. But a peace came over me, right? And um, to have the caliber of speakers that I have, that I know they're going to bring it, and they're going to bring it. People are buying Mercedes Benz and they can't leave the lot because the motor not in it. But every one of my speakers are Mercedes Benz and uh, Range Rovers, and guess what? The motor in it, right? And so that's why I'm so excited, because I know that everybody is going to bring it and help these women. I'm emotional about that, to help these women and men who have been struggling for years
Mm-hmm.
on this false stuff that's out there. I know a lot of people are not going to like this interview, but like I said, if the truth hurts, tell me what a lie feels like. These people have been struggling too long, too
Yeah.
long. And so we're going to bring them 2 days of real information. We ain't trying to set a course. We're not trying to do that,
Right.
right? We've got them even asking questions prior to the event so we can see how that can be structured into the event. So that's I'm happy. I'm happy. And it's the Global Power Virtual Assistance Virtual Conference, June 20th and 21st. And I can't wait. I just
I can't
cannot
either.
wait. I
I'm
get
excited.
chills.
Yes. Yes, I'm extremely excited. I wrote so I'm one of those where I'll write my speech or my presentation. I don't even like to say I'm a speaker, I say I'm a teacher. But I wrote my dissertation, whatever you want to call it. I wrote it, and then I went and I scrubbed it a little bit. And then I'm one of those who, after I write it, I want to write key points because I don't want to read. I don't want to memorize something. I want to go from the dome with just the key points that I want to touch. And I was going through this, and one of the things I'm talking a lot about VAs and government contracting. With everything that changed in the new presidency and where we are right now, a lot has changed in this government contracting. But I'm so excited to be able to announce that we still win. So I'm excited about the conference. So absolutely, I'm so excited about the conference. So,
and I know you're gonna bring it. I know you're gonna bring it, and I'm sure that has changed a lot, and everybody's gonna bring it, right?
yeah, absolutely.
We've got so many speakers, and I'm glad that Crystal Washington, which is my longest client, is going to speak on AI, right? Because a lot of virtual assistants are thinking that AI is going to replace them.
And it's
That's
not. It's gonna help them.
No, it definitely will help.
Try to do it. Some people gonna try to do it because they think it's a way to save money. Good luck with that, and tell me how that works out for you.
Right.
And then, I got Anton Gunn, who was special advisor to Barack Obama, and he's going to talk about leadership in our roles, because you both talked about like our responsibility. We're leaders too, right? And that's why I wanted him to bring, like literally bring that. And so, I mean, we just got a lot of speakers that, well, not a lot of speakers, but we got speakers that are bringing dynamic content to the need of this industry, right?
Absolutely.
So, yeah.
Absolutely.
And I know you
So,
touched on it briefly when you said that, people can expect to get real information that they can use to help them succeed. But what else can they expect to walk away with from this conference?
Oh, they're literally going to walk away with strategy on what to do next. One of the things that I learned early on in doing business is my mentor taught me, no matter what you're learning about the industry of what we're doing, and this was before I got on the internet, he said that you need to know what to do next. So it doesn't matter if somebody's talking to you from the stage. What do you do next? So presentations, conferences, summits, things like that are temporary emotions if people don't know what to do next. And that's what we call aftercare. And I'm hoping that each speaker is going to create some type of package like that, where that person that is interested in what they're saying can come back to them, right? With this aftercare package offer for them, because it's just not going to all happen at that conference. And I don't want people to think that. While we are going to give some dynamic steps of what to do and how to do it next, the real realization, the manifestation of it is going to happen in the aftercare.
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely. So tell us where they can get tickets. Where are tickets? How do they find you? Even whether it's conference or even outside of the conference, how do they find you?
Yeah, it's easy to find me because I'm all over the internet as Regina Baker, right?
Okay.
Chenier is my married name. I've been with my husband now for 8 years, but everybody knows me as Baker, right? So you can always find me. AskReginaBaker.com.
Okay.
And globalpowerva.com.
Okay.
Globalpowerva.com is where people can register for the conference. And I don't know, it's like the Holy Spirit is talking to me right now. So what's going to happen is that because of April and Cass, we're going to give a discount. So we're going to have a coupon. I don't have the coupon ready right now, but we'll have it when people are able to listen to this. And I'm going to create a coupon with a huge discount, because this is not about money. I'm going to make some money. I'm not going to lie. But it's not about getting rich off of people, right? And here's the great thing. I get to pay each one of my speakers because they deserve it, right? And so I'm going to create a discount, and I think I'm just going to call it April Cass. April Cass. That's what we're going to call it, April Cass. And then you'll know what it is. And so I'm just excited. Wow, you just got to be what you hear.
Yeah.
When we market this, you guys will see down at the bottom of the screen the web address, where to find it, where to find Miss Regina Baker, Ask Regina Baker. And then we'll have the QR code, or not the Q. Well, I can make it to a QR code, but we'll have some QR codes. We'll have the special promotion, and then outside of this, we'll promote it. So she'll tell us how long we have it,
Absolutely.
and then we'll make sure we'll promote that to you guys. So I'm so excited to see you guys there. This episode just redefined the entire VA space. Regina, I want to thank you for dropping these gems and elevating the conversation today.
Thank you so much for
such
having
a
me, April and
transparency.
Cass.
You have such a transparency and passion for your business, and it is so obvious. And to everyone watching, whether you're a business owner, needing support, or a VA looking to give support, we hope that this gave you clarity and confidence to move forward in whatever decision you need to make.
All right.
Thank
And
you.
don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Register for Regina's event, you guys. We'll see you next time on Sessions with Coach April, and goodbye.